Business owners are being advised to double-check their emails for typos after a Perth man almost lost $6 million to hackers. Joining me live is NAB's Chief Executive for Finance and Fraud, Chris Sheehan. Chris, thanks for coming on the program. What happened here? $6 million.
Yeah, it's an enormous amount of money, isn't it? And it's a really timely reminder to people to be very, very careful when they're making payments of any value, to be honest with you. In this particular case, a vigilant member of our staff identified some anomalies in the payment instructions that the customer had given us, and applying a curious mind and their instincts, made some inquiries and ascertained that the account details that the payment was going to had been changed by hackers to the point you made, and stopped the payment going out the door. And we have a very, very, very fortunate customer and a very, very pleased staff member.
So the customer basically had put a certain amount of money to pay someone, is that correct? And then it was elevated to this extraordinary figure?
No. Actually, what's happened in this case is the value of the payment was $6 million. That was entirely what the customer intended. But what's occurred is some hackers have hacked into the email server of the payee, the person the customer was intending to pay, and changed the payment account details, the recipient account details. So unbeknownst to our customer, they were going to send the money to an account that they did not intend the money to go to.
How big is this problem and how widespread is it?
It's an enormous problem. There's no hiding from that. In the last 2 or 3 years, the volume and the value of scams impacting the Australian economy and globally have increased exponentially. To give you a sense of that, the ACCC estimates that losses from scams are likely to hit well north of $300 million this year. Now, that's probably understating the impact by at least 30 or 40%, because for a whole range of reasons, people don't report being the victim of a scam. You can appreciate that for some people they don't realise, some people are very embarrassed by what's occurred and don't want to talk about it. So it's an enormous economic problem. But the pain from it goes beyond just the economic side of it. People lose their businesses, they lose their houses, they're psychologically damaged and harmed by what's occurred. It's an enormous global problem.
How safe are the big banks in this country?
I think that the big banks are investing enormous amounts of money in ensuring that they are safe, and people should have confidence that their bank will do everything in its power to protect them from being the victims of this type of criminal activity. Now, we're up against a big challenge because these scams, there are some that are being conducted by 1 or 2 people, in the basement at home, your typical con man type scenario, but the really impactful scams, that's being driven by transnational organised crime. The same people that traffic in illicit drugs, human trafficking, firearms trafficking, they're driving the explosion in scams around the globe. So it's a big challenge. But the banks are investing tens of millions of dollars every year in protecting people from this type of offending. So they are safe, but people need to protect themselves as well.
As time moves on, technology gets better. It's pretty easy for people to scan someone's licence and find out where they live and get their licence number. It's pretty simple stuff, this. How much damage can be done by people garnering information about an individual?
The point you make is a really good one. Protecting your personal information is a fundamental strategy that you can use to protect yourself from being the victim of this type of scam. Don't share information with people that you don't know or don't trust. And really importantly, before you hit send on a payment to go anywhere, double and triple check the account details and the account name that you're sending that money to. Because the reality is, once you have hit send and that money is out of your account and out of your bank's control, our ability to recover that for you if it turns out that it's not going to where you want it to go diminishes enormously over a very short period of time. So people can protect themselves by making sure they are sending money to where they want it to go.
I think everyone gets dodgy phone calls from numbers, and as soon as they hear a pause or an international number code come up, they don't answer, or they block the calls. Emails often have got sort of glaring signs that they're dodgy. What about for more vulnerable people in our community, particularly older people who need to protect themselves?
Yeah, that's a significant concern for NAB and for our peer banks around Australia. Vulnerable customers, and it's not just the elderly. There can be other types of vulnerable. There are other types of vulnerable customers, And we are doing everything we can to provide education for those people, awareness of the risks that they face. We're developing our products and services to be easier to use and less exposed to some of the risks that might occur in the digital environment. So there's a lot that we are doing, but people are our customers, people in the community are the front line in this fight, and we really need them to be vigilant of what they're being asked to do. So you talked about emails and text messages and phone calls. What you can do, if you're receiving a phone call from a number you don't recognise, do not answer it. If it's important, someone will leave a voicemail from you. If you receive a text message or an email with a link in it, do not click on the link. Your bank will not send you those sorts of emails or text messages. There's lots of stuff people can do to protect themselves in addition to what the banks are doing.
And it's just extraordinary, really, isn't it? The one positive, and we probably leave it here, is that as fraudsters get better, the technology gets better at guarding them. So we are a lot safer in that sense than we were, say, 10 years ago.
Yeah, we are. I'll go back to the point that there's tens of millions of dollars being invested in tackling this problem. The banks are very much alive to it, and it's our absolute determination to do everything we can, and we use technology extensively to do that. But I think this case that we're speaking about this morning probably highlights the other point, that people are central to this as well. It's a technology and a people issue, and we need both sides of that equation to be working at their most effect to be successful.
Absolutely. Chris, on a brighter note, you enjoy your weekend, and we'll catch up with you soon. Thanks for your valuable information.
Great. Thanks for your time.